Did all the team leaders get all the emails I sent?
No. Yes.
Who said no?
I did.
You're not a team leader, are you? Who's your team leader?
I am.
Who's in your group? They were mistakenly sent to you. Did you get them all?
I did.
Did you spread them, give them to the rest of your team?
No.
That's why you didn't get them. Who in the room does not have the numerous and sundry emails I sent last night about the last case we're working on?
What? 7, not 14. Some were duplicates. I sent.
Yeah.
I sent 14.
Yeah, because I didn't know which ones I sent. I lost count. I got on the phone and I lost count which ones I'd sent, so I just sent them all over again. That's my system, my crack system. So who doesn't have 7 to 15 emails sent last night? Are you the only one that don't have?
Tony forwarded to me just now.
Okay. Rich, you have them?
Yes, I'll forward them to.
Okay. As where's Kwong and Kwong's? You made a very, very valid comment last night. Maybe the only one since you've been here. Reference other than LOE that we're live in the deal right now. And then when I sent you those other emails, I mean they just took his shoulder off. Cannonball just took his shoulder off when they were boarding the ship, okay? And earlier he lost a leg. So, I mean, it's a lie. By the way, this is Elvis Presley jacket that Sally buys me this kind of shit. And in Memphis, Tennessee, and the tailor that he made rich, I forget the guy's name, it's in the Peabody Hotel. And when you go to Graceland, and it shows the clothes, the kind of clothes he used to wear, Elvis, which is quite remarkable. But seeing him right up close is quite an experience. But I decided, since it was our last day of the New Year for thing, I wear one of my Elvis Presley jackets. A couple things. We got goals, affirmations. We got this case. We've got protocols to go through. But I wanted to say something. I'm not the only person that has ever said politically incorrect things about kids, about Jews, Muslims, Protestants. I am not the first one. And by a long fucking shot. And I don't get anything from these books, nothing. There was a woman, a psychologist, several years ago, who became quite famous for telling women they were whining cunts, for the most part. And she got famous and a bestseller by writing a book called Stop Whining and Start Living. And it was devoted to women who whining, cunt, nag their significant others into despair. And we could all relate to that, every fucking person in this room, including the women. They don't call it nagging or whining, but they were taught by their parents, their mothers, to whine and nag. Okay. Then she wrote some other famous books. I talk about how you fucked up your kids and your parents fucked you up, right? 10 stupid things women do. Oh no, that's where's the kids one? Okay. Stupid things parents do to mess up their kids. I mean, I could have written this book, okay? And it was a bestseller in America. I don't know if it was a bestseller anyplace else. By the way, her name is Dr. Laura Schlesinger. Okay. Bad childhood, good life. You know how I say we're fucked up, but you can still have a good life? She writes about bad childhood, but still having a good life. And she had one. And of course, when you write books like this, everybody Googles the fuck out of your life. And I'm not going to go through all the things that, she was quite a, shall we say, a party animal in university. She's a little younger than I am, back in the day of LSD and shit like that. So, and she found some people that partied with her, apparently, back in the 60s. And so there are other books written about that. I don't have any of those. And then another bestseller, 10 Stupid Things Women Do to Mess Up Their Lives. and basically feeling sorry for them being victims. Remember I said to remind me about being a victim? The base reason, not the base, well, one of the main reasons that we are the way we are, that you are the way you are, and I'm not, it doesn't apply to me because I don't feel a victim about anything. And people say QLA is making other people victims. Now, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but I would rather them be a victim than me. It's like in the movie Patton that we viewed, some of you viewed the other night, when General Patton gets up at the beginning of the movie and he says, "Now we want those bastards to die for their country. We're not going to be dying for our fucking country." So we want them to be the victims and not us. But guys like you and many others, coming out of certain cultures, have been raised just the opposite. I often say the Brits ruled 2/3 of the world at one time, and they ruled it by gunboat diplomacy, and they didn't give a fuck about anything. The Dutch, when they were out running around discovering shit, the Portuguese, the Spanish, and just about all the countries ruled by force. Even here, sitting on the Guthrie estate, Sir John Guthrie, the original, who got the grant from James III, in the crest shows one hand with a Bible in it and one hand with a sword in it. So if you didn't accept Christianity, he cut your fucking head off. Or heed, as they say up here. Cut your fucking heat off. But now we've swung back all the fucking way, the other way. And we're gonna swing even beyond that. I was just watching a thing on CNN, a clip that Seinfeld did with Obama for the holidays about Seinfeld picking up Obama for a cup of coffee, pulling by the White House in his Stingray Corvette. Then they're driving along, and Obama says something to the effect, "Well, my demographics are from mostly from 0 to 8 years old." And he says, "Because the kids like me because I look like a cartoon character because I have big ears." And he goes on, and it was really quite self-deprecating. Then he goes on to say something about how Seinfeld asks him, "Are most of the world powers wacko?" He says, "Yeah, they are." He says, "You can see it in their eye when you sit across from them that they're not there anymore." And he says, "The longer they're in office, the worse they get." And then he says, and then their feet hurt, and they can't pee. And he's talking about men that are in some of these guys, dictators are in office 30, 40 years, and they can't pee. And then I came because I had to get here. I wanted to get here. But that's one of the first things I've seen Obama do on the self-deprecation role or example. But you guys and gals play the victim card. They talk about the race card, and the females playing the female card. But it's easy to be a victim because you don't have to take responsibility. It is the ultimate venue for people that don't want to take responsibility. And the minorities, and again, I'm in a minority, but and I sent you an email to remind me. Yeah. I want you to read it a little later. Apparently, I opened up a beehive, which is what I try to do all the time, about saying that I was going to pull down all my shit from YouTube. And so all of a sudden, I have a lot of defenders. All of a sudden, But it always, when they make a comment, but then nobody comments back to the guy, "Are you fucking crazy? What's wrong with you?" You don't see that very much. So they just and remember, I talk about tacit approval. When Kebab Man here, Ray, says something to me, and I don't respond, say, "Are you fucking crazy? I mean, that's bullshit." And I just either don't say anything, or worst case, nod my head like this. I might be nodding my head, I'm listening, Ray. I'm not nodding my head that what he says I agree with, but you sit and listen, and what you're really doing is giving tacit fucking approval to all the idiots. So when the people don't comment on YouTube, they're giving the morons tacit approval. And when you listen to shit, either by a significant other or even your parents. When your parents talk shit, and everybody's parents in this fucking room talk shit. And they get used to talking shit because nobody corrects them. And they just keep on talking. But what's the worst than that, the fact that forget you're giving them tacit approval. It sinks in your fucking weak brains. It's like the Chinese water torture. It's not the 500th drop that makes you nuts. It's the 5 millionth drop that makes you nuts. And when you hear your kids talk shit. And my children know, even at this age that they are grown adults, if they say something that's shit, I am the first one to make sure they understand that, one, I don't agree, and it's shit. And during the holiday season or birthdays, weddings and shit like that, you want to get along. So what's the easiest way to get along? Keep your fucking mouth shut. And then you just listen. And then you're a receptacle for all the shit. And it's a never-ending vicious circle that just repeats itself. Holiday time to holiday time, generation to generation, for time eternal. But the easiest thing in the world is play the victim. And I'm not, this thing with Bill Cosby, which is an awful thing, these 50-plus women that, allegedly were raped or taken advantage of, whatever. For years and years and years, nobody said anything because nobody else said anything. But then 4 or 5 years ago, when somebody said something, and he still hasn't been proven guilty, but it looks that way. And then when one said something, then another one said something, and then I remember the last time I counted, it was 13. Now it's 51, so I haven't counted in recent months. But all those people that have kept quiet and been victims, just think about how distorted their lives have become. But, that's an awful thing that happened. But, I'm worried about the people in this fucking room. And I see you continue to be victims because that's how you were raised. That's how you were raised. Because another manifestation of that is there's no accountability. There's no accountability for people to say or do crazy things. The iPhone, etc., has changed a lot of that. People that do bad things now, virtually everybody's got an iPhone or equivalent thereof, and so they can catch it on camera, etc. But for the older folks in the room, you've lived 20, 30 years with this. For the young guys, much less than that. But I've seen the transition. And you ask why the people in the 90s were so strong. Well, they had seen less of it. And they didn't have all these options on social media. And they had to go do the work themselves. They couldn't just Google fuck the answer. Shoe leather, as Bruce Whipple used to say. Shoe leather meaning walking, and that's not a totally accurate metaphor because you don't walk, but you certainly weren't Googling it like this. And so for 2016 and moving forward, if you just take that one element, and it's not a small element, Anthony, it's a big fucking deal. If you've been the victim and taught how to be the victim all your life, you don't just flop over one day, wake up, it's 2016, I'm not a victim anymore. And it's hard, but not impossible. And when you get back to the rest of your life and your significant others, and in these books by Laura Schlesinger, and they show how from a little girl is 3, 4, 5 years old, how they learn to play the victim role to get what they want. Okay, YouTube, Happy New Year again. We will talk again. And thank you for the support, YouTube. And I won't be taking everything down. So, and my crack staff, she had already taken half of the 500 down. Right, Kat? Yes, okay. So she'll be putting them back up now. So, but thank you. I appreciate the support. Okay.